So the first thing we need to do when we've got the shed kit is to get all the pieces out. Put a little bit of glue on a piece of board there ready to go. Just make sure we've got all the right pieces. So we've got the base piece, two sides, two ends, the roof, the glazing, the two fascia pieces, two hinges, two finials and a tiny lock. Of course the roofing felt, which is going to make our shed there. So the first thing we really need to do is to put the details on the end piece. So we're going to take the end piece with the door on and we're going to put the hinges and the lock on. And to do that, I'm going to gently dab that into some super glue. You can use PVA as well. And this, we're going to just stick that onto the doorway here, putting it half onto the frame, onto the door. Do the same with the second hinge. This is the fiddly part, so it is an optional extra. If you don't feel confident enough to do the hinge, then you can leave that off. So we want the square bit onto the frame and the long arm on the door, like so. And then I'm going to just put that little lock part onto the door there. Okay, so now we've got that on, we just put that to one side and we'll just work to the window. So for the glazing, it actually has a protective film on both sides, so with your scalpel very carefully peel the protective film off both sides. It isn't very easy sometimes because it is kind of stuck really well, so it takes a little bit of perseverance just to get your blade under the edge, but once you peel that off you're left with a nice clear bit of glazing there. Now the best way to do that is to flip it upside down, and I'm actually going to use a little offcut of card. I want to dab a couple of little spots of glue along the inside of that opening there. We just don't want the glue to get over the glazing. So now once you've got some glue there, take your glazing piece, probably better off using a pair of tweezers, and stick that on, making sure you don't overlap onto the tabs. Okay, so I'm a bit off screen there, so making sure you don't overlap onto the tabs. Let's give that a few moments to set. And again, put that to one side. So now we don't need dabs of glue anymore because I'm going to use it straight from the pot. So what we need to do is take our base piece. These have got slots in to help you. So the first piece you want to put in is your door piece. Now these fit handily into the slots here, like so. So what you need to do is just run a little tiny bead of glue on the inside of that slot there, and then either side of it. You can also use PVA. I just like to use super glue. Just be careful with it that you don't get it everywhere. Put it into those two slots, and if you want to just use this roof piece to just square it up until it sets, it shouldn't take a moment. Those slots will help it out. And the next piece you want to do, making sure you do it on the side facing away, is the side piece. Now these have got slots that are slightly taller on one side. That's to allow it to slip into the roof section. So again, a little bit of glue just into those edge tabs, and now what I'm going to do is just a tiny little bead of glue just on the inside of the edge that touches the door panel section, and then you just carefully bring those two together, making sure that these two corners are straight on. Basically the very end of this side panel operates as the framework for the side of that hinge there. Again, just hold on to that for a little minute until it sets. Now again, if you're doing this with PVA, you probably just have to make sure everything's nice and square before carrying on. Now again, with this end piece now, we're going to put that in. So a little bit of glue in between the tabs, and then this is slightly different because of where we're putting it, so we just want to run carefully a bead of glue on the inside face here, the edge, the very edge. Just be careful you don't get any on the panel section, and then slot those two into the two homing slots and square it up so it runs flush with the side of that. Okay, then finally you want to put the final side on, with the one with the window. And this piece is going to slot up against those two walls. So again, we're going to put some glue in between the tabs. I'm just going to pop that down because I want to put a little tiny bead, not too much because we don't want it to run over onto the edged panels, but down each end there. Now we know which way around this one goes because it's a window towards the top. So slot those into those little holes and then bring it right up to the walls there till it's all square, and then just hold it square for a moment. Okay, now that should set fairly quickly. Now this is the roof part, and it's engraved halfway down, which will allow you to carefully fold it. Now these have slots in the roof which coincide with the slots at the top of the walls there, and that will enable you to put it on in exactly the right place. You may just have to wiggle a little until you get it in the right place. Dry fit it first just to make sure it fits, and then you just want to put a little bit of glue on the top of the long walls and run a little bead of glue on the apex of those two end panels. I'm just using it straight out of the pot. If you want to be a bit more careful, you can just use a toothpick from a little pile of glue. And we're just going to hold that in place for a moment. Doesn't take too long to set. And now, but we're going to put the roof piece on there. So the kit comes with a piece of fine grit sandpaper to act as the roofing felt. You've just got to make sure it's the correct way round because it's slightly longer than it's wider. So just quick dry fit first to make sure it's the right way around. And a generous bit of glue is going to be necessary to hold it in place here. So make sure you get it right to the edge. And a little spot just for safety right there. So take the roofing felt and just line it up with the edge of the roof there. Holding it flat and just press it down. Again, it's going to take a little while for it to fully set. And again, if you're using Superglue, just want to keep your fingers clear. Just give it a push down on both sides just to make sure it sets. Now again, you might be better off leaving it overnight but using PVA, but that will ensure it glues. Now we're going to finish off with the fascia panels and run a bead of glue along the edge of the roof there. Take one of the fascias. Again, it's a little fiddly. Using a pair of tweezers to keep your fingers out of the glue. And we'll just line that up with that and try and get it in camera. And again, on the other side, final piece. Line that up on there, and then the last finishing touch, two little finials. Again, this is going to be quite fiddly, so we're probably better off using a small bit of excess card just to dab on some glue. Let's get this central-ish. Put a little bit of glue onto a scrap bit of card, and then dot some glue right on the apex there. Grab hold of your finial. Drop it in place. There we go. Finial in place, and then the final finial just dropped on the front there like that. There we go. So that's quickly your shed kit made. And there's one I made earlier in true Blue Peter style. So you get your little bag full of everything you need, tiny little hinges, finials, etc. And if you want me to make one up for you, if you don't want to build it yourself, these are $13.99 pre-made. So there you go.